Amanda gazed intently across the glass conference table, her manicured fingernails rhythmically tapping against her tablet. Your package is no longer current. We are implementing a 40% reduction in base pay and reorganizing our commission structure. I'm Robert Maddox, a 52-year-old with salt and pepper hair that began to show its colors in my 30s. For 15 years, I held the position of Senior Vice President of Sales at Trilock Woodworks, a commercial millwork supplier located in Austin, Texas. My business card may have read SVP, but in reality, my role was to ensure everything ran smoothly. I took charge of overseeing our 10 most significant accounts. These were more than mere clients. These connections were forged through thousands of phone calls, numerous dinners, and a decade and a half of addressing issues before they even arose. I was familiar with the names of their children, their golf handicaps, and their favorite vacation destinations. They reached out to me first, even before contacting their own teams when they required assistance with a problem. The updated framework is designed to promote expansion. Amanda proceeded gracefully, pushing a document across the table. All packages are being modified to meet industry standards. I took a moment to peruse the paper. A reduction of 40% to the base salary. The proposed commission restructure would render it unfeasible to achieve my current earnings, even with anticipated growth. Decreases in benefits. Amanda Claymore made her entrance 3 months prior, following the acquisition clad in designer suits and armed with a Harvard MBA. In her initial weeks, she immersed herself in analyzing spreadsheets and engaging in confidential discussions with the executives from the new parent company. I understood the perception she had when her gaze met mine. Costly antiquated a remnant who ought to have appreciated merely retaining his position. What is the expected timeline for this transition? I inquired, my tone steady. With immediate effect, her smile was restrained. It is essential for us to have full support from everyone regarding the new direction. I shut the folder, rose to my feet, and reached out my hand. I appreciate the clear explanation. Her smile wavered. She had anticipated conflict discussions, perhaps even a sense of urgency. Instead, she received a handshake and made a composed departure. Later that afternoon, I noticed her observing me from her office while I gathered a few personal belongings into a cardboard box. There's nothing particularly noteworthy. A snapshot capturing my daughters on their college graduation day. A thoughtful pen set, gifted by a client, and a cherished sales award from the past. As I was leaving, I acknowledged Gerald with a nod, our chief financial officer. He had been by my side from the very start. His eyes conveyed what his words failed to express. This went beyond merely reducing expenses. This was about excluding me. In the parking lot, I approached with a sense of calm, avoiding any loud slams or screeching tires. I carefully placed the box in my trunk, adjusted my mirror, and drove off feeling the weight of 15 years of client relationships slipping away to the competition, courtesy of Vanessa. I meticulously constructed that sales department, laying each brick with care. Upon my arrival at Trilock in 2010, we were operating as a regional entity with annual sales of $8 million. By the end of last year, my team had reached an impressive $73 million, with my personal accounts contributing more than $12 million to that total. My father operated a modest cabinet shop in Dallas, imparting his extensive knowledge of wood joinery and finishes to me before I turned 16. Following my college years, I navigated through several sales positions before discovering Trilock. A realization occurred in that moment. My familiarity with the products stemmed from my upbringing in an environment where they were prevalent. I have the ability to engage in technical discussions with architects, while also addressing pricing concerns with purchasing managers, all within a single meeting. Howard Wainwright, the owner, acknowledged the value I contributed. It's more than merely offering a product, he would assert. Your focus is on building trust. He allowed me the freedom to shape my department, according to my vision. I brought on enthusiastic, eager representatives and shared the valuable lessons I learned from Oliver. Connections hold greater significance than mere exchanges. When Howard sold the company to Driftmore Labs last year, I felt a sense of concern, yet I remained calm. Acquisitions played a significant role in the business cycle. I would approach it just as I would with any other transition. The initial indicators of issues arose when the organization began to overhaul its executive leadership. A new leader has been appointed from outside the industry. A newly appointed marketing director with a vision to transform our digital presence. Then Vanessa, with her polished presentations on enhancing operational efficiency and maximizing resource utilization. Initially, it was the minor adjustments that took precedence. Travel budgets have become more constrained. Customer entertainment accounts necessitated a series of approvals. My regular meetings with the executive team transitioned from weekly to monthly, and eventually to as needed. During one of our earlier meetings, Amanda shared that we are simply optimizing our processes. This is not a matter of personal feelings. It became a matter of personal concern when she began arranging calls with my key accounts without my involvement. When she inquired about the discounts I had secured years prior that had maintained client loyalty despite several price hikes. When she proposed that my team required new viewpoints and introduced 2 of her former colleagues as the new regional managers. During our quarterly budget review, Gerald made an effort to caution me. He spoke softly, casting a sidelong glance at the door, indicating that they were carefully examining the sales compensation structure, especially the legacy arrangements. I found myself as the sole remaining legacy arrangement. A week prior to that crucial meeting, I noticed Amanda sharing a lunch with Jessica, my latest addition to the team. They were gathered closely engaged in a deep conversation. As I entered the restaurant, Jessica averted her gaze to her plate, while Amanda greeted me with a nonchalant wave as if encountering me was a delightful coincidence. Subsequently, Jessica averted her gaze when I inquired about the lunch. She quietly mentioned that she was just getting to know the team. At that moment, I realized what was about to unfold. It's about the overarching path, not the specifics. That evening, following Vanessa's announcement, I found myself in my home office engrossed in the sales reports spanning the last decade. 15 years of steady progress. 15 years of cultivating Tri-Lock Woodworks into a prominent force in the industry. After 15 years of loyalty, receiving a response that your package is outdated feels dismissive and unappreciative. My phone vibrated with a notification. A message from Peter Donnelly, the purchasing director at Weston Commercial, our most significant account. There are whispers circulating regarding significant transformations at Tri-Lock. Is everything all right? Feel free to reach out to me. Peter and I collaborated for 12 years. I had supported him through 2 company restructures, a divorce, and the process of his son's college applications. Our relationship extended beyond mere business connections. We had formed a friendship. I poured myself a generous measure of bourbon and dialed his number. Robert responded without delay. What is happening over there? I received a call from a woman informing me that she will be taking over our account. Allow me to introduce Amanda Claymore, who has recently taken on the role of our sales director. I responded, maintaining a calm tone. She began discussing the need to evaluate our pricing structure and the introduction of a new vendor management system. Frank's voice grew tense. We possess a contract and established processes that are effective. I prefer to handle my suppliers without external guidance. I savored a deliberate sip, allowing the quiet to linger. Is that you, Jeffrey? Peters softened his tone. Will you be remaining here? If that's not the case, we should have a conversation. In that moment, clarity emerged. My worth wasn't defined by my position or my sales figures. It was a journey built on 15 years of trust. 15 years dedicated to finding solutions rather than generating challenges. 15 years of connections that could leave alongside me. I am thoughtfully weighing my options. Take a moment to reflect on this. If you find yourself in a different location, please reach out to me before I have to engage with Harvard Barbie once more. Once I finished the call, I turned on my laptop and began composing an email to Ryan Harrison at Pinnacle Supply Group. We had crossed paths at an industry conference last year, where he shared that they were aiming to grow their commercial millwork division. I opted not to send it right away, and instead saved it as a draft. The following morning, I was contacted by 3 additional clients, each expressing comparable concerns. Amanda was actively engaging, initiating transformations and altering connections that were beyond her comprehension. I made my final drive to the office to complete the task of emptying my desk. While I was packing, Gerald discreetly handed me a folded piece of paper. He mentioned in a subdued tone the figures regarding your client retention and their typical yearly expenditure. I thought this could be of help to you. I acknowledged his words, grasping the deeper meaning behind them. He recognized my value, even if Amanda failed to see it. That afternoon, I completed my resignation letter, dispatched the email to Ryan at Pinnacle, and reached out to my lawyer to examine my non-compete agreement. I uncovered what I had long suspected. It pertained to products rather than clients. For 6 months, I faced challenges in selling competitive millwork, yet I was able to nurture and uphold my relationships without any hindrance. I found myself free from anger. I experienced a sense of clarity and concentration. There exists a unique strength in being overlooked, in being regarded as irrelevant. It signifies that they remain unaware of your presence until the moment has passed. After 2 weeks of careful consideration and exploration of my options, I ultimately decided to accept Daniel's offer at Pinnacle Supply Group. The position was ideal. As the Senior Vice President of Business Development, I have the unique opportunity to establish and lead my own division independently. During our final meeting, Ryan expressed a desire for your expertise, Jeffrey. You're well aware of what is effective in this field. There's no need to start from scratch. The following day, I reached out to Amanda to talk about my resignation and the plan for my transition. I suggested extending my stay to 2 weeks to facilitate a seamless transition of my accounts. That won't be needed, she remarked with a calm demeanor. We have already reached out to your clients. Jessica is set to oversee the transition. The intricacies of these relationships are quite profound, I elaborated. Each account possesses its own subtleties that require careful consideration and time to fully appreciate. All your notes are stored in the CRM, she interrupted me. Your approach seemed somewhat outdated, to be honest. We are adopting a more analytical approach to managing our client relationships. While I could have engaged in a debate, I found myself questioning the value of doing so. From the instant she entered the room, she had already formed her opinion of me. She concluded by saying that HR would handle your exit paperwork. Kindly ensure that all company property is returned by the end of the week. Thank you for your cooperation. 3 days later, I had the opportunity to meet Peter from Weston Commercial for lunch. Jessica's calls went unanswered, prompting Amanda to take the matter to his superior. I received a client satisfaction survey from your replacement, and it contains 48 questions. Peter responded, shaking his head in disbelief. She subsequently delivered a presentation detailing their new customer success metrics. I find metrics unnecessary. I require an individual who comprehends our business intricacies. I acknowledged the point, but chose to maintain a neutral stance in my response. I had no intention of speaking negatively about Trilock. What is your next destination? Peter inquired straightforwardly. I am excited to announce that I will be joining Pinnacle as the Senior Vice President of Business Development. Peter arched an eyebrow, intrigued. thought-provoking. For years, they have been making efforts to win our business. I took a sip of my water. I will begin in 2 weeks. Peter slid his business card across the table, a gesture that spoke volumes. Reach out to me once you found your footing. The following day, a certified letter arrived from Trilock's legal department. It brought to mind my non-compete obligations and cautioned against any inappropriate solicitation of Trilock clients. The correspondence detailed each significant account I had overseen, mentioning them individually. On that afternoon, my phone began to ring. Victor Lang, the CEO of Northwell Construction, was among the elite group of top 10 clients. "Jeffrey, what on earth is going on? A new individual is attempting to alter our payment terms. Indicates that our account structure needs refinement. We have maintained a net 45 payment term for 10 years. I responded thoughtfully, indicating that I am no longer with Trilock. Indeed, I came to that realization when she reached out. Where did you end up? I provided him with the fundamental information regarding Pinnacle. Just as I was about to conclude, he cut me off. Do they manage the same product lines? Indeed, there are similarities. Excellent. Please reach out to me on Monday. I would like to discuss possibilities. By the end of the week, I had received comparable calls from 5 additional clients. Every discussion adhered to a consistent structure. Concerns regarding Vanessa's methodology, inquiries about my recent role, and suggestions to establish connections once I begin. I had not reached out to a single client. They were approaching me. On my final official day, I received an unexpected call from Vanessa. "I see that you've been communicating with Trilock clients," she remarked, her tone tense. "I have indeed engaged in conversations with a few individuals. After 15 years, many of them have become personal friends. She mentioned that we take into account those exclusive business relationships. Redirecting that business would clearly violate the terms of your separation agreement." I acknowledge my responsibilities, I responded calmly. "Good," she retorted. "As the last thing you need is to engage in a legal dispute with Driftmore's lawyers." Once the call ended, I sent the recording to my lawyer, the very same one who had verified that my non-compete agreement only limited me from selling millwork for a duration of 6 months. I was free to offer additional construction supplies to those same clients via Pinnacle. Those clients had the freedom to decide whether or not to follow me. Amanda had just disclosed her genuine apprehension. She was starting to grasp the implications of her decision to push me out the door. My first day at Pinnacle began with a profound realization. During our morning meeting, Ryan revealed that we have been attempting to penetrate Trilock's market for several years. Your predecessor dedicated 18 months to engaging with Weston Commercial, yet was unable to advance beyond their purchasing department. Peter Donnelly is not one to place his trust in others readily, and I concurred with that sentiment. Ryan leaned in with curiosity. There are certain aspects that remain unclear to me. Trilock boasts an impressive client retention rate of nearly 95%, significantly surpassing the industry average of approximately 72%. What is their hidden strategy? I found it quite amusing. The answer was right before his eyes. It's not a mystery. It's all about connections, I clarified. During Oliver's tenure at the company, he recognized that while contracts could secure clients on paper, it was the relationships that fostered loyalty, especially when competitors attempted to undercut prices. Ryan acknowledged with a thoughtful nod. The new management seems to be missing the mark on this matter. The new management perceives relationships as lacking efficiency. Amanda prefers automated systems over phone calls. Just as I was about to provide more details, my assistant interjected with an urgent message. Thomas, the CFO of Trilock, expressed a desire to have a meeting. We decided to gather at a serene bar in the downtown area following our workday. Gerald appeared anxious, casting furtive glances behind him as I drew near. "I shouldn't be here," he said without hesitation. However, I countered as I placed an order for drinks for the both of us. Gerald slid a folder across the table with purpose. The board meeting took place yesterday. I believe this is worth your attention. Within the contents was a copy of Vanessa's quarterly strategy presentation. The initial pages featured typical forecasts and promotional strategies. At that moment, it became clear to me. Strategy for transitioning clients. Maddox accounts. The strategy outlined the process for transitioning my previous clients to Gabriella and 2 new account managers. The content encompassed discussion points that tackled possible concerns regarding my exit, along with a timeline for mending relationships. What truly captured my interest was the financial projection revealing that my clients contribute not $12 million in annual revenue as I had always believed, but rather $17.3 million, which accounts for nearly 24% of Trilock's total revenue. They never revealed the true value of your book, Gerald said softly. Howard was aware, yet following the acquisition, he simply shrugged it off. What is the reason for presenting this to me? Gerald savored a lengthy sip. Because their actions are not justifiable. Amanda is already falling short on her forecasts. She informed the board that it's a temporary disruption during the transition, yet the figures speak for themselves. He gently tapped the folder. It seems she has indeed lost Northwell, hasn't she? I neither affirmed nor refuted. The responsibility for client decisions was no longer mine to bear. It is bound to deteriorate further. Gerald elaborated. She is set to introduce price increases for all legacy accounts starting next month. The board reached a decision grounded in her analysis, which highlighted that we have been undervaluing the market for years. At this moment, clarity has been achieved. Vanessa's motivations for wanting my departure extended beyond merely reducing my compensation. She viewed my client relationships as an obstacle to her ambitious revenue strategy. Without my involvement, she would have the opportunity to increase prices, alter terms, and introduce new systems that could maximize immediate profits from the connections I had dedicated years to cultivating. Thomas's voice lowered as he added, "There's something else. They have been meticulously reviewing your expense reports from the past 3 years, searching for any discrepancies. There will be none to discover. I'm aware of that. Yet they are constructing a storyline. When clients begin to depart, they often seek a scapegoat." As Gerald departed, he paused for a moment, reflecting on his decision. I am in the process of refreshing my resume. I wanted to share this with you. As I drove home, an unusual sense of tranquility washed over me. I was delving into Vanessa's perceptions of me. I was discovering the true thoughts Trilock had held about me all this time. My worth was evident in the figures, yet it was missing from my remuneration. They had taken pleasure in reaping the rewards of my connections while subtly strategizing to maximize their gains once I was no longer involved. The reality extended beyond Vanessa's misjudgment of my abilities. It became clear that Trilock had consistently underestimated my worth over the years. After 2 months in my new role at Pinnacle, I had found my groove. My office provided a view of downtown Austin, and my small yet expanding team featured 2 young sales representatives whom I had carefully selected. I had not reached out to any of my previous clients directly. I found it unnecessary. They approached me. Initially, there was Victor from Northwell, who reached out the day following Trilock's price hike. He expressed his frustration over the unexpected 14% increase. Is it possible for Pinnacle to align with our initial pricing? We took the initiative, and we succeeded by introducing value-added services that Trilock had not previously provided. Subsequently, Westerly developers emerged, succeeded by regional builders, and then Austin Modern Construction made its entrance. All expressed comparable concerns. Surprising cost hikes, inflexible new regulations, and a lack of personal touch in service. As I reached the conclusion of my second month, I observed that 4 of my previous top 10 accounts had transitioned their business to Pinnacle. I ensured that every transition was executed perfectly. My team dedicated their weekends to guarantee flawless initial orders. I took the initiative to visit job sites to verify deliveries firsthand. News circulated within the industry that joining Robert Maddox at Pinnacle would lead to enhanced service and more competitive pricing. At that moment, my phone buzzed with a call from Vanessa. "We need to talk," she said, her typical assurance giving way to a subtle yet palpable anxiety. I decided to meet at a coffee shop close to Pinnacle's office. Amanda was seated with a latte in hand, having arrived 15 minutes ahead of schedule by the time I walked in. "This must come to an end," she stated directly. "Could you clarify what you mean? Have you ever considered this taking our clients away?" I gently swirled my coffee. "I have not reached out to any Trilock clients." "That's ridiculous," she retorted quickly, realizing her outburst. In just 8 weeks, we have seen the departure of 4 significant accounts. Each of them referred to you specifically. Clients are empowered to make their own choices. Amanda leaned in, eager to absorb every detail. "We have the option to approach this with simplicity or complexity, Jeffrey. Simple means you step back and we refrain from taking legal action for breach of contract." I responded with composure, stating that there was no breach. "Due to my non-compete agreement, I am unable to engage in selling millwork for a period of 6 months. Pinnacle's construction supply division operates independently of Trilock's millwork offerings." Her gaze sharpened. "You are taking advantage of a gap in the system. I am adhering strictly to the specific terms outlined in the agreement prepared by your legal team." I savored a sip of coffee. It seems that a greater level of caution might have been warranted. She acknowledged that the board is posing inquiries, her voice lowering, regarding client retention and revenue projections. "That appears to be a matter for internal discussion within Trilock." She explored an alternative method. "What is it that you seek? Are you considering a consulting arrangement? A reward for maintaining the status quo of specific accounts?" I found it quite amusing. She remained perplexed. I expressed my disinterest in arrangements, rising to my feet. "I am committed to excelling in my role. Everything else falls into place." The following day, Peter from Weston Commercial reached out. Their contract with Trilock, which had spanned 3 years, was approaching its renewal date. He mentioned that they are putting it out to bid. "Amanda has been reaching out to me every day, proposing to undercut any competitor's price by 5%. I recognize that as a favorable offer. Could it be my considerations extend beyond just the cost, Jeffrey? I require an individual who comprehends our business intricacies, a person who picks up the phone at 7 p.m. when a project faces challenges." After a fortnight, Weston granted Pinnacle a 2-year supply agreement valued at $4.2 million each year. It was a significant achievement, the sort that captures attention in professional journals. On that very day, an email from Gerald landed in my inbox. The communication consisted solely of a forwarded internal message from Trilock, informing that Amanda would be transitioning to strategic development initiatives as they embarked on the search for a new sales director. I chose not to respond to Gerald or make contact with anyone at Trilock. I just sent Weston's signed contract to Ryan, along with a note marking the beginning of my goal to reach 20 mailers in new business by the end of the year. The wheels were set in motion, and Amanda was starting to grasp the true implications of her miscalculation. Half a year into my journey at Pinnacle, I found myself in the conference room encircled by my team. The wall-mounted screen displayed our quarterly performance report showcasing $13.7 million in new business with projections indicating we could reach $22 million by the end of the year. 8 of my previous top 10 Trilock accounts have transitioned with me to Pinnacle. Ryan entered the room carrying a bottle of champagne. The board has just given the green light to your division expansion plan. He shared the news more staff a larger marketing budget, and all the requests you made have been addressed. As glasses were passed around, I felt my phone buzz with a message from Thomas. The Trilock Q3 earnings call is set to begin in just 30 minutes, and it could be worth tuning in for some valuable information. I took a moment to step away from the festivities to join the call. Trilock's new CEO, Raymond Peters, appeared somewhat strained while speaking to investors. Although we expected some challenges after our strategic restructuring, sales have not met our projections. Our commercial division has faced some unforeseen client attrition. An analyst interjected, "Could you provide a quantification of that attrition?" Recent estimates indicate that Trilock has experienced a decline of nearly 20% in its annual revenue over the last 2 quarters. Raymond dismissed those figures as speculative. "We are adopting a proactive approach to enhance client loyalty. Is it true that your biggest client, Weston Commercial, has recently partnered with Pinnacle Supply Group?" Another analyst inquired further. The silence was overwhelming. "We are currently engaged in meaningful conversations with all our key accounts." Raymond has finally provided his response. During the ongoing call, I noticed an email from Jessica, my former hire, who had aligned herself with Vanessa. The email's subject line was, "Are there any job opportunities at Pinnacle?" I returned to the festivities, opting to forego the champagne. Ryan observed my demeanor. "Is everything all right? I just received some confirmation." I responded. That afternoon, a newsletter from the industry unveiled the story. Trilock Woodwork faces challenges following departure of major clients. The piece specifically highlighted my transition to Pinnacle and the following client migration. An anonymous employee from Trilock remarked that the company had fundamentally misjudged the importance of its senior sales leadership. Not a single word was necessary from me. The data revealed a compelling narrative. A year after Amanda informed me that my package was outdated, I found myself in my newly expanded office at Pinnacle, analyzing our annual figures. My division achieved an impressive $26.3 million in revenue, surpassing even my most optimistic forecasts. My team expanded from 2 sales representatives to 11 now, including a dedicated client support staff. We had transitioned to a more spacious floor in the building, and Ryan had subtly suggested that a board position might soon be available. A photograph from our division's holiday dinner sits prominently on my desk. Expressions at ease, authentic grins. A group that grasped the truth I had always recognized. Enterprises founded on a foundation of trust. My assistant chimed in. "Amanda Claymore is here to see you." No scheduled meeting. I took a moment to reflect, then gave a nod of agreement. "Allow her to enter." Amanda appeared transformed, less refined, and more fatigued. Her tailored suit had been swapped for a ready-made option. "Thank you for seeing me," she remarked, choosing to remain standing despite my invitation to take a seat. "How may I assist you today?" She mentioned that she is currently with Hamilton Group, consulting for businesses. "I would appreciate your insights on Pinnacle's strategy for client retention as I work on a case study." The irony was almost amusing. She nodded stiffly, indicating that she was aware of my approach. "I encountered an error in my calculations at Trilock." "You certainly did. The market is buzzing about how you managed to dismantle a company without uttering a single word," she continued. "That carries significant weight." I chose not to reply. Amanda was not there for a case study. She had arrived seeking forgiveness or a chance to make amends. I wasn't providing either. Following a brief and uncomfortable pause, she set her business card down on my desk. Once she departed, I took a moment to look at the card before discarding it into the shredder. That evening, I made my way to my daughter's new home for a delightful dinner. She had recently achieved a promotion to the position of senior architect at her firm. "How is work going, Dad?" she inquired while we relaxed on her patio. "That sounds positive," I responded succinctly. Creating a lasting legacy, I certainly was. This time it wasn't about wood, but rather the same guiding principles that have shaped my entire career. Put in the effort. Honor your commitments. Prioritize connections over mere exchanges. Ultimately, Amanda had presented me with a surprising treasure. She compelled me to demonstrate to myself and all those observing just how valuable 15 years of trust truly was.